Let's start with President Biden's comments on those tariffs on China. How advanced are these conversations within the administration?
Look, I think that you know that I gave a speech last October describing the Biden administration's approach bilaterally in the U.S.-China trade and economic relationship. And since then, we have been engaged in conversations with China on China's performance under its Phase 1 commitments. We also articulated the need for the United States to champion the interests of American workers and the American economy and continue to push for and fight for a level playing field in the competition with China. So what you have right now is a very deliberate approach by the Biden administration in our economic engagement in Asia. I'm delighted to be here in Tokyo with the president. I came to Tokyo from Bangkok, where the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation held 2 days of trade minister meetings. The Biden administration's commitment to this region is clear and is being demonstrated right now by our physical presence here.
So, Ambassador Tai, you mentioned those conversations with China. Do those include the prospect of lifting those tariffs on Chinese imports, and would that be contingent on China reciprocating?
So the first step in our engagement with China has been on China's commitments under the Phase 1 agreement, which include intellectual property commitments that they've taken, as well as purchase commitments. At the moment, we are here in the Indo-Pacific engaging with our partners in this region on enhancing U.S. engagement here economically. We launched the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework just yesterday with 12 countries in this region. That is what we are doing today. With respect to our work with China, we are continuing to work on our deliberate next steps in addressing the competitive imbalances and the need to realign this trade relationship.
Ambassador Tai, is now the right time to remove or talk about removing these tariffs? You said back in March that you'd like to keep them in place as a kind of leverage. Is it more strategic to keep them there until other issues are ironed out?
Look, with respect to the tariffs, our approach, as with everything in this relationship, is to be strategic. We have to keep our eye on the ball in terms of how to effectively realign the U.S.-China trade and economic relationship. I know there's a lot of talk around tariffs right now, given international and global economic dynamics, which have been really punctuated by impacts from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. All options are on the table in terms of how we address our short-term economic needs, but our eye must be on the ball with respect to the medium and long-term need for the United States to realign this economic and trade relationship to ensure that we can, as the United States, emerge from this period of disruption stronger than we were when we came into it.
And part of that is better economic engagement with this part of the world and the economic opportunities. Let me get some more details, as we're all waiting for, on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. There's been criticism domestically as well going into this trip, that this is a pact that lacks ambition, it lacks specifics, it doesn't require tariffs. What would be your answer to that?
Well, take a look at the world around us right now. This is a world that has experienced significant disruption from 2+ years of a global pandemic. It is a world economy that is being roiled right now by the economic impacts of Russia's invasion on Ukraine with respect to energy prices and questions around food security. We also have a world economy that is facing challenges from the need to make a green and clean transition And we have economies around the world that are going through a rapid digital transformation. In the face of all of these dynamic changes, what is clear to us in the Biden administration is that we need new approaches to trade, and we need innovation in the way that we engage our partners and our allies.
Right.
And that is the program that we are bringing in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. It is not a traditional trade agreement, that is by design. What we are bringing to this region is a program for ensuring that we have durable and resilient economic engagement, and that we are able to work with our partners here into an economic recovery that is sustainable, resilient, and inclusive.
Ambassador Tai, that's all great, but these countries will also have to abide, as you say, the higher labor and environmental standards without the benefit of potentially lower tariffs and better access to U.S. markets. So what's the incentive?
The incentive is certainty. Right now, if you look at issues arising in our global economy, you've got supply chain disruptions that come from logistical challenges, but you've also got significant supply chain challenges that come from not knowing whether your supply chains are clean, whether or not they are working towards a carbon decreasing trend, and whether or not they are free from forced labor, for instance. The engagement that we are bringing is to establish norms and standards to provide our partners and our firms, our workers, and our people with more certainty in the version of globalization that we are working towards coming out of this pandemic and coming out of these very turbulent years.
Why isn't your partner, one of them, Taiwan? Because we have heard from the president that this is an open framework, and the Taiwanese foreign ministry has also said that they want to be included. So will you be open to that idea in the future?
Look, so I just met with my counterpart from Taiwan, Minister Deng, in Bangkok a couple days ago while we were both at the APEC meetings in Thailand. And I have to tell you that we had very positive conversations, and we are committed to deepening and enhancing the bilateral trade and economic relationship. And we've instructed our teams to work over the course of the next couple weeks on that deepening and enhancement.
Ambassador Tai, you've talked about this idea of globalization 1.0, now globalization 2.0, hopefully being more resilient. A lot of that resilience has been the breaking down of supply chains and logistics over the past couple of years. What measures are you trying to put in place now that's going to improve that?
Well, first of all, we have to talk to each other. We are all experiencing this very similar, if not the same, challenges. And so one of the basic tenets of this economic framework is to create a platform for the United States and our partners and allies to come together, to collaborate and cooperate on the challenges that we are facing today, which are particularly acute and have been quite different from what we've experienced leading up to this period of time. So I'll start there and reinforce the notion that with the launch of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, this is where the real work happens. This is where the rubber meets the road, and this is where the really exciting explorations begin.